Welcome everyone to 24/7 Sports. I am Tom Loy alongside the 105 guys themselves. We got Director of Scouting Andrew Ivins and National Analyst Cooper Patagna. Signing day is right around the corner, so we wanted to look at the 2025 recruiting classes all across the country and really share with the fans exactly where we stand on a lot of these future signees. So we're going to hit on some superlatives, clearly state our take on a lot of these future signees, and as always, have some fun with this. So first up, we're looking at Notre Dame. The Fighting Irish currently have the number 13 ranked recruiting class in 2025. There are 23 commits set to play for head coach Marcus Freeman. Andrew, we will start with you. Early draft pick potential. We're talking about the guy we believe has the traits and ability to be elite, not only in college, but also beyond in the NFL.
Well, Tom, I'm going to go with one of my favorite prospects in the entire 2025 cycle, and that is tight end James Flanagan. This guy is a box checker for a variety of different reasons. He's a multi-sport athlete, track and field, but also has a rare hockey background. You don't see that too often. This is a kid that's playing rural competition up in Wisconsin, but he dominates on both sides of the ball. And Tom, what I think really stands out about James Flanagan is he has true inline potential. You watch what he has done over the years. He is used as an attach blocker. So rare to see high school tight ends actually have to seal off a run lane and move big people out of the way on a snap-to-snap basis. I also think if James Flanagan wanted to play some defense, he could get it done on that side of the ball. So for me, it's James Flanagan. I don't know if he's going to be a high-volume target on Saturdays or Sundays, but I think this is a guy that can certainly make an impact as a new age Y for the Irish, and then potentially one day maybe an NFL franchise.
I'm going to go with the highest graded commit in the class, and that's Will Black. And it is a super deep tackle year here at 24/7 Sports. Will Black ranks number 10 in our class right now. But it's a kid, honestly, that there's a lot of varying opinions on, and we like a lot, especially kind of on the cusp of that second round, back in the second round, early third round. But a guy that's going to be a left tackle at the next level, I think can play either side, super polished, love him from a technical standpoint. Big body, over 6'7". He's got over 34-inch arms as well, almost a 7-foot wingspan. Drew, just kind of a guy that kind of fits the mold of what Notre Dame wants to do on the offensive line. Notre Dame has had a lot of success with young guys coming in, playing early, some of that out of necessity. We saw that with Anthony Knapp this season. I think Will Black is going to be one of those guys. Ideally, you would love a redshirt, play 4 games, ready to go by 2026. But this is going to be a guy that I think is going to be a multi-year starter and a guy that could have all conference accolades if they were in one. But one of those names that is going to continue to really kind of emerge up our board. We're really excited to see him at the All-American Bowl in January.
I couldn't agree more. I'm going with offensive tackle Will Black as well. I love the size, the athleticism, the polish, the tape. So a lot to like there. Let's move on to day one impact. We got a guy who is talented enough to contribute upon arrival when he gets to Notre Dame. We'll start with you, Cooper.
Well, I'm going to go with James Flanagan. I knew there was going to be some crossover, but, Flanagan, given the genetics, the two-way snaps, I think everything that Drew said, this is probably the more impact-ready prospect in the class, and Drew said it. He could probably play defense if you wanted him on that side of the ball as well. Traditionally, what Notre Dame's going to do with that wide tight end, I think you're going to see more of an impact, probably more as a run blocker than you are as a receiver. But certainly, as Mike Denbrock likes to go 12, 13 personnel, utilize those tight ends, I think James Flanagan's going to have a pretty easy path to the field.
I'm going to stay on the offensive side of the ball, and I'm going to go to a position where Notre Dame is looking for some playmakers, and that's wide receiver. How about Elijah Burris, son of Plaxico Burris? This is a kid we moved into the top 247 at our mid-season update, right, a few weeks ago. I think what he has put on tape, we're talking about a wide receiver, 6'002", so he's got the size, he's got the play speed, and I just think what he has done as a senior in New Jersey is he's really taken his game to another level. He's a polished route runner. He attacks the football. He can attack all 3 different levels of the field and find separation there. So I think when you look at Notre Dame, right, they brought in some transfers. They've had some high-profile recruits in the past. When I go up and down this commit list, I think Elijah Burris is the one that's going to have a chance to make an impact right away. Maybe that's because Notre Dame needs some help there, but I do think he's rather advanced for his age as a pass catcher. And another guy with those NFL bloodlines, you said with James Flanagan, that is the theme of this class. A lot of former pro sons headed to South Bend.
I'm a big fan of cornerback Dallas Golden, but I'm not really sure where he projects, whether it's corner, whether it's safety. Guy could play wide receiver or running back. I just know he's a really good football player, really good athlete. I think he's a guy that plays right away at Notre Dame, so we'll see what happens. Boom or bust. Let's look at an intriguing talent who could outperform their ranking or potentially underachieve. He's kind of a mystery. Ivans, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm going to go with your guy, Will Black, right? And Cooper and Tom, you guys both outlined it. This big mountain of a human. He's originally from Canada, prepping in Connecticut. Someone we just haven't had a ton of eyes on exposure. Cooper said it. We're going to get him at the All-American Bowl, hopefully in January. Fingers crossed. We know he's going to measure well, likely going to be an all-lobby type of individual. But what does he look like when he's matched up with these twitched up speed edge rushers, right? Every year we see some of these high-profile tackles show up in San Antonio, battle it out during one-on-ones in the Alamo Dome, and they struggle. I'm not sure Will Black has really seen that level of talent. There's likely going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but man, if it all comes together with him, he's got first round ceiling. At the same time, he's someone that could underperform there at Notre Dame, right? We've seen it. It's a very difficult position to learn. I think Notre Dame looks at him as a potential left tackle of the future. Is he athletic enough to get it done there? We'll see. Give me January and I'll have a better answer on Will Black.
Yeah, maybe a guy that transcends not only Notre Dame's class, but a guy in the top 247 that you could put in this category of boomer bust. How about Tavius Richardson, a guy that we just put in the top 247 and a three-phase player out of the state of Georgia, was committed to Georgia State, Del McGee, then flipped to South Florida over there with Alex Golesh, now at Notre Dame. I really like this from Notre Dame. This guy, the type of athlete that he is, runs in the 10.6s in the 100-meter, plays a lot of quarterback, plays a little receiver, plays some safety, but you can tell he's a lot more athlete than he is football player at this point. He is going to have to get to South Bend, develop. But if I'm Notre Dame, I'm Marcus Freeman, these are the type of athletes you have to find a way to get to campus. So I'm all on board with them rolling the dice on a guy like Tavius Richardson, dynamic player. Can they get the most out of him at the safety position? Notre Dame obviously has a really good track record developing guys. I'm all on board with this. High ceiling, low floor, fits the category perfectly.
I couldn't agree more on Tavius Richardson. He's a guy that Notre Dame is essentially recruiting as a receiver, but they're kind of treating him like an athlete. He could absolutely play in the secondary. All I know is that everybody in that building is fired up about this win. They love Tavius Richardson. Big get. Let's move on to Diamond in the Rough. We'll start with you, Cooper. We're looking at a 3-star prospect who could surprise some people down the road and really emerge as a high-level talent and potentially find himself drafted.
Yeah, this was a difficult one to pick because I think Notre Dame does a tremendous job with the depth of their class. I think every year you could really kind of live in this range and find a player that is going to exceed expectations at the next level. I'm going to go with Gordy Solstead out of St. X in Ohio, Cincinnati. And this kid, big kid, 6'5", 240. Not a lot of verified information on him, but in terms of playing in an even front for Notre Dame, I think he's a good fit. Can play the 5 technique, can play the 3 technique as well. Can do a lot of different things. Really proactive player in his pass rush. Plays the run equally as well. I mean, other guys you look at, Dominic Kulak, Koa Kia from Punahu, it seems like they're just really trying to strike lightning in a bottle twice with what they had in Maris Lufau as well. So I like what Notre Dame's doing at a number of positions, but the guy that really kind of stuck out to me was Solstead.
I mean, Cooper said it. I think you can talk yourself into any of these 3-star prospects that aren't inside the top 247 as a guy that's potentially going to play on Sunday. Really 2 jumped out for me. Brandon Logan, the in-state safety, former Vanderbilt baseball commit. He's a guy that's very comfortable in the box. He has exceptional testing numbers, someone that the Irish worked out during the summer months, gave him the green light, got him committed. I think he fits what Al Golden, what Marcus Freeman want to do on defense. He likes contact. He can cover in the slot. So Brandon Logan has the one I have circled into the other guy. How about Jerome Bettis' kid, the wide receiver? Had a chance to buzz his senior highlights, what he is doing here as a 12th grader, 2-way player. You love to see that. Guy's going to get done on both sides of the ball. I think he is a well-rounded wide receiver. He mixes together good size, strong hands, favorable body control. Might not be a true burner, but I think as a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, there is something there with Jerome Bettis. And he's also flashing as a safety. I think he's a guy that could come in and play special teams. You love the fact that dad did it. You love that he's got NFL in the bloodline. So Jerome Bettis, for me, coming out of Woodward Academy, which has had a number of prospects make impacts as true freshmen at the next level.
For me, it's safety Brandon Logan, Fort Wayne native in Indiana. I've had the luxury and the pleasure of seeing him multiple times in person. I am just as high on him coming out of high school as I was with Xavier Watts. I'm so fired up about this kid. This is a huge win that Notre Dame fans just simply don't know enough about. Big, big win for the Irish. Bottom line, what's your final takeaway on this Notre Dame class? You can take it however you want. Ivans, what do you got?
Well, I like the group of offensive linemen that got committed. We talked at length about Will Black and what he could be for Notre Dame at some point down the line. How about Cameron Herron, the in-state center prospect? Me and Cooper have talked about this at length in the past. I think when we look at the IOL projections, Cameron Herron, he's one of the best when it comes to snapping the football. He has done that at Warren Central. I think you're looking at a potential multi-year starter there. Not going to blow you away with his measurables. I mean, he is built very muscular, just a little bit on the smaller side, but a guy that understands how to find leverage. I think that is a great take for Notre Dame, a great senior evaluation. You also got Owen Strabig, the offensive tackle out of Wisconsin, Irish up there in the land of the cheese. He is another mountain of a human. As a senior, you can see it. You can extend the arc. I think he's got to improve his hand placement. Probably a guy that's going to need a few developmental semesters, but they could strike gold there as well. And then the secondary, you said it with Brandon Logan. You said it with Dallas Golden, Mark Zachary, another prospect we haven't brought up. I think all these guys are probably going to need some time before they're ready to go. But we're talking about two-way players, guys with verified measurements, guys that have done it, guys that have contributed as seniors. I think one of these guys is going to break through, and Notre Dame, that has kind of been the bread and butter, right? They have turned water into wine in that secondary over the years. So I think one of those guys, whether it's Dallas Golden, Mark Zachary, Brandon Logan, they're going to merge. You can throw Cree Thomas in that group as well. So O-line, defensive backs, like what the Irish are doing there.
I think Notre Dame knows how to pepper their strike zone. And what I mean by that, this is a really clean operation, and one that has an identity under Marcus Freeman. Tom, I know you like to mention Chad Bowden, the job that he's done there in their front office as well. Super high floor, instinctual football players. And that's what they're getting. We talked about those guys kind of living in the 3-star range, but these guys, what they add from a depth standpoint, what they add from a positional flex standpoint, Notre Dame misses the right way. That is something that stands out to me. But now it's all about how do you get the top tier talent to put you over the top, not just being in that conversation of a 12-team playoff, but how do you go compete for a national championship once you get into that rarefied air? And the only question that I have, I love what they're doing on both sides of the line of scrimmage and what they're doing at some of the skill spots as well. But the receiver position, it's been long been a focus of Notre Dame, long been an Achilles heel for this program. Can they get that right? They've gone to the portal. They obviously did that last year with guys like Bo Collins, Chris Jenkins. We've seen guys like Jaden Greathouse show some flashes. But as Elijah Burris, Jerome Bennis, are they good enough? And these are good players. Don't get me wrong here. Solid guys that will add value to this program. But who are the guys that you have to game plan for? Who are the guys that keep you up at night? I think Notre Dame really has to focus on that. And I know they're focusing on that, but this is the toughest task that they have. How do they go out, get the cream of the crop, find some guys that are going to be dynamic, going to be a little bit different than what they've had in years past at the receiver position, because they have it on the offensive line. They have it at the running back position. Love their quarterback room, future outlook. But it's really the receiver position. And Drew, let me hit on this real quick. Blake Hebert, who they just flipped from Clemson, another guy. If you had to compare him to anybody in that room, probably Stephen Jelly. That's not a bad thing. High floor quarterback that you're going to feel pretty good about stepping in. Going to be a good glue guy. Probably going to have a guy behind him that's more than likely a little bit more talented. Could probably beat him out at some point. But certainly somebody that you want to have in that room.
For me, it's a nice class. There's still room for improvement. Months ago, when it was ranked number 1 in the country and everybody was excited, I said I still liked the 2024 group better. I obviously had a little inside knowledge that I didn't necessarily expect Deuce Knight to flip and a couple of misses, and they've had some tough misses so far, but they have an opportunity to land some big pieces down the stretch. Guys that you like, Madden Faremo, Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng, they could flip, or at least are trying to flip, Andrew Olesh, the tight end from Michigan, maybe try to flip Derek Meadows again. So there's a lot of cream still out there they can add to the class and really boost this thing. But right now, it's like I said, nice class, but there is some room for improvement. But that wraps it up. As I said before, we will continue hitting on a bunch of schools across the country leading up to December's early signing period. But for Andrew Ivins and Cooper Patagna, I am Tom Loy. As always, stay locked to 247sports.com.